Yo, what's up? It's your boy Carcino here, and Giannis exposed the NBA media for what it is and what they do in such a comedic way, but it was necessary. It was very necessary. The league has been disrespectful to Giannis the entire rip. Don't forget to hit the like button, share, subscribe. My Patreon is Carcino for Life. The Cash App is Carcino. And let's let it be known. When we started this thing, right, and we let the whole world know what time it was and let the whole world see what the problems were when it came to the game, those who represented the game, uh, we already knew there's a such thing as a media bias. The media never used to take crap from the players. The media used to write what they write, and the players just had to deal with it. And that was that. Only certain players were allowed freedoms of being protected by the media. Michael Jordan had to deal with Sam Smith and guys like Jay Mariotti, guys who always thought, here's a lane. I tell the other side of Michael Jordan that the public don't know. But there was no internet. There was no alternative of hearing the fans' perspective. Now you have a bunch of lackey journalists. You have former NBA basketball players as journalists. You have guys who never could get picked on a basketball team who are now supposed to be a journalist, but they're not. They're just sports enthusiasts, and they got a podcast, and the podcast is popping. So they say, you know what? Let's make a podcast show with just them, and let's put them out there to the world so that everybody can see them, and we're going to make them NBA media. And now that person gets to vote on awards and accolades that the players play for that, dictate 30 to 40 million dollars in differentials. You get to have certain allowances for certain players. You have the media who now is to just sell the sport and galvanize people to come check it out because look at what we're doing. You see what I'm saying? So now the narrative and the perspective have changed. And now the NBA is not going to be happy because they don't want to see the narratives change at all. They want everything to go as business as usual. And we don't like the way NBA media has been covering our sport. Well, if you watch Chuck and TNT Sports, those guys seem to know what they're doing. All former athletes, and then Ernie, who has respectfully watched the game for years, right? None of this was a problem beforehand. None of this was a situation. Then I started to look and look a little deeper into the problems, and I see the problems, and the problems is very clear. The problem is you have a bunch of people who don't know each other, who don't trust each other, and these guys don't really communicate, and most of them, they're there for free NBA merch. Some guys are itching to get through the door, and now if you say anything bad about a player, you could be removed. So now they're going to find any way to say something positive. They're not going to talk about the game. They're not going to talk about what happened. They're going to say, hey, now that you guys had a little bit of rhythm in the game, for the guys they like, to the guys it's open season on, they know it's open season. The NBA allow them to attack. The NBA allows them to go in on certain players. They allow that. And this narrative continues throughout the league. And with Giannis, every year since he's won the championship, He's went from the one of the most loved players in the game before he won a championship to after he won it. Now the haters who said, "Oh, Giannis, man, he always goes out in the first round or second round. He can't get there. He can't win a championship playing the way he plays." Well, he did it, and he didn't have to jump ship to do it. He didn't have another world star with him. And he did what LeBron couldn't do. LeBron had to build super teams. Giannis did not. And whatever that was that just went through, that probably was the sabotage button somebody hit. But as I often say to everybody in the game, as I say to people, over and over again, this game is brutal on the mental. Because if you're not mentally strong enough to take it, it could crack you, it could destroy you. Giannis refuses to let that happen.
You beat the team like today. Vegas, baby, the Bucks are rolling. They're going to Vegas. Blackjack. Wow. Wow. And the day you lose, they suck. Get him out of here. Trade Giannis, and he has blood in his hands, and nobody wants him, and he can shoot and lick and blah blah blah. Bad team at 0 IQ. Oh guys, yesterday I was the best player in the world. Hey.
And that's the mentality right there. That's the mentality that Giannis has that everybody else can see. Giannis is like, look, now the Bucks are going to Vegas. The Bucks are doing this. The Bucks are doing that. Before all that, I was trash. Now I'm the worst player ever. Brunus is this. He got blood on his hands. This is how the NBA media is. It's no consistency. No one has anything consistent to say, and those who do can't speak. They don't allow them to.
And he can shoot and
That's how the perceptions of it is.
hey, you beat the team like today. Vegas, baby, the Bucks are rolling. They're going to Vegas. Blackjack. Wow. Wow. And the day you lose, they suck. Get him out of here. Trade Giannis, and he has blood in his hands, and nobody wants him, and he can shoot and lick and blah blah blah. Bad team at 0 IQ. Oh guys, yesterday I was the best player in the world. Hey, you beat the team like today. Vegas, baby, the Bucks are rolling. They're going to Vegas. Blackjack. Wow. Wow. And the day you lose, they suck. Get him out of here. Trade Giannis, and he's guys. Yesterday I was the best player in the world. Hey, you.
And that's the key right there. Yesterday, I was the best player in the world. Today, now it's trade Giannis. He's got blood on his hands. Don't nobody want him. You see, and once he exposed this media game and what's the problem with it, there's no consistency. It's a ebb and flow of emotions. One game to the next. If they lose a game, Doc Rivers is a terrible coach. Doc doesn't know what he's doing. Doc has to be there. Doc has to go. Doc can't do this. Doc can't do that. Meanwhile, LeBron James get protected in the media all his career. Nobody's ever asked this man a tough question in his whole NBA playing career. This man gets asked, they get beat by 30. They're asking LeBron, well, you guys kind of had a rhythm in the first quarter and, in the first minute of the game, before things got out of hand. What do you think was working in the first minute of the game? Stupid like that. And that's what you want to get away from. It's like the people want to know what in the world went down in this situation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's so much that people just don't know that when you see it like live, it just kind of don't make sense. So when you start getting a grasp of the situation at hand and you start seeing it in its totality, then you can start to gauge it a little better. But Giannis is making a clear point that the NBA's media and the way it's designed and the way it works does not promote the game. They're never asked really any intelligent questions. They're not asked anything by people who know the game. Um, I'm not saying it needs to be by basketball savants, but for people who have a talent for knowing what it is that needs to be done. No, I never saw it that way. I really, I really see things in a different manner than how other people see it. Uh, by me being a part of sports media, I've been in part of sports media for 2007, really. And when I got a part of sports media, there was nobody to really hire me. I shadowed under Don King in like since like 2005. So through 2005, for 2 years, my job was to follow with. That's right, Prox. It's been a while since I've seen you here. But my job was to shadow every single body. I mean that, like extremely shadow these guys. And the guy who was the manager of operations or the director of boxing for Don King Promotions, my job was to shadow him and learn from him as they basically was saying, hey, you're working for free. And I was working for free. They wanted me to be a manager to promote the fights. They wanted me to be that guy for Don King Promotions. And it happened after the Mayweather Judah fight. Then Luis Collazo and things of that nature in Chicago, I was there helping them promote those fights that they were having here in Chicago, working for Don King Promotions. For free. What I was getting paid was experience. So it basically was an intern job. And they're saying, hey, you're learning something that's going to help you down the road. All I learned was how messed up the boxing business was, because the guy who's basically I'm learning from, he's getting ready to leave. And he's going to Puerto Rico and he's not coming back. He's like, hey, I'm going to Puerto Rico. I'm out. And he was a prick to me almost the entire time I met him. Like when I first met him, he was cool with me. I gave him a ride to the hotel where they were staying. And like every time I ran into him, he was like a prick ever since then. Like what are you doing here? Almost kind of stuff. And I always kept, what he was doing was trying to discourage me from coming there. Like, this is a burning, what he was basically saying is, this is a burning ship. It's going down underwater, and you don't want to be here. So I'm trying to save you. So I'm being a prick to you, so hopefully it drives you away. That was his thing of doing that without saying I told him everything bad about this business and the company. Just go do something else. I know you love boxing and you feel this is where you should be, but just go, go do something else. And his name was Juan Gonzalez. And Juan Gonzalez went back to Puerto Rico and says, man, I got a farm. And it's like, Salinas, why am I doing this? Like, I can retire on my farm. I'm good. So he went back to Puerto Rico and he's like, I'm not coming back to the United States. I'm gone. So I'm no longer the director of boxing. I was like, wow. So Carl King, who was the vice president, Don King's son through his marriage with his wife, and Carl made all the decisions. Like, he was being groomed to take over the business so Don could sit down and retire. But Carl only cared about chasing women, and that was basically it. Carl was like, did you get that girl's number? I'm like, Carl, ain't we supposed to be trying to see about getting the venue for the fight and trying to, see about promotions and who's going to make the flyers, where is it going to be advertised? Can we sell it on the internet? That's what we're supposed to be doing, Carl, right? Yeah, as soon as I get that girl's number. Did you get it for me? Oh, you're useless. Oh, look at that one over there. Go get a number for me. I'd be like, dude, I'm not trying to go to jail going around here trying to get phone numbers for Carl King. So it was a crazy whirlwind that we'll go through in full detail on the Patreon, but it was a crazy ride. But it taught me a lot about the business. And I said, you know what? I don't want to do this part of it, because what was weird is that fighters would come up to me and want me to manage them. And I'm like, dude, I'm not a manager. I don't have time. I'm trying to manage my own life. So I don't really have time to manage or devote my life to the fighter or to someone else because that's what it is. You are working for them 24/7. You don't close, you're always open. Now, here's the narrative that people don't understand and they don't get, and it pisses me off more than anything. If you don't understand where you're going, you're never going to get to where you want to be. But you got to understand where you're going. If not, you're going to crash into a wall and fall down because you don't know where you're going. So you got to know. A lot of people would have jumped at every opportunity that opened up because it was offered. But you got to look around and see what's happening around you, and eyes wide open. Yeah. So when the media opportunity opened up, because I had all these fighters, information, contacts, everything, I said, well, I might as well interview these guys. And once I started doing that, it started to grow. Then talk radio, like back then, the radio line for boxing, that was the core of boxing. Like, leave it in the ring, rope a dope radio. We were there from the impetus of these shows getting started. Dave Duenas, Chris Carlson, those guys allowed us to have a platform to come up to speak. We were all the guys who was on YouTube talking boxing. I got on YouTube talking boxing after being there with Floyd Mayweather. My first video on YouTube, period, is when he's coming down the ring as an emperor. Then I'm interviewing Floyd. I'm doing all of these things that these other people would die to do. And I'm already inside of the game. Um, Luis Collazo, Victor Ortiz, when he was young, starting out, these were some of my first interviews, and knocking down a lot of walls and barriers, knowing a lot of crazy stuff that went on behind the scenes. It was nuts. And trust me, there's so much more that you just have no idea of how crazy this thing was. Now, moving fast forward to all of this, like it became a it became a whirlwind of effect where sports media changed. Now that the internet is there and that any yo blow can become a star, and you see them go to Casanat and give him a deal because he's trending on social media. They want Casanat to be involved, and so all his followers will be following the NBA. He's an influencer. Wherever he goes, he's a lightning rod for attention. So what they want to do is use these people to promote to us. They'll even involve them in WWE, race car, NASCAR, everything. So that this kid can make millions of dollars, which is cool. There's no problem with that. But here's the main scenario that I see that is a big problem. Most people in the game today just don't get how limited their mind and their thought processes are. That they don't take time to get to the point where Giannis is talking about today. What Giannis was speaking on was essentially the problem. He did it in a joking manner so it wouldn't be aggressive and mean. He just did it to show how moronic it really is. Yesterday, I was your favorite player. Now today, I need to be traded. I'm washed up. I'm not that good. Nobody wants to play with me. I'm the problem. And it didn't start like this against Giannis at all. He was the nicest guy in the world until he won the championship. And now he's like, oh, he's better than LeBron now. Okay, now we have to challenge. The media has to attack him now because it's a green light to do so. LeBron's the only one that's really protected. Can't tear him down. And now you're seeing more and more those reins are being loosened, but not in the NBA media. The NBA media, no, 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 no. It's softball, softball, softball. So when is the last time you heard the media ask LeBron James a real question? Never. You hear Giannis gets asked this question constantly. Giannis wants to leave. Giannis never said he wanted to leave. Why would he leave Milwaukee when Milwaukee has done everything he's asked? Everything he's asked. And he's been playing. I haven't heard her say anything like that in my life. She's balling because of white privilege. That's crazy. Now, they said, check it out. It's the latest news. If she said that, that's just insane. Because white privilege isn't the reason you're balling. Like, what do you mean? You mean because your parents had access to money and you can go to a good school, you could play basketball and all that? But no. If she said that, she probably was being sarcastic. So that's that. The media is going to be. Oh, yeah. All is that. All is there. Of course, LeBron's going to return back to the team. I hope he never returns. I hope he realizes this isn't for me no more. The game is doing me in. I'm out. Well, if you look at the ratings of the NBA and see how drastically low it is, the attendance level is low. Everything is low. And they're trying to say, well, we're trying to find ways to get the games to people where they get the chance to watch all the games everywhere. Mm-hmm. Well, the Lakers' problem has always been one thing, right? The Lakers' problem has always been consistency. In the media, instead of saying Anthony Davis, why won't you be more assertive in the paint? Ask real questions. Yeah, it might annoy them, but you know what that does? That lets the fan know you're not lying to them. The fans are not stupid. A lot of them are naive, but they're not all dumb. The people that love the game, they love it when the media guy, because they read the paper. They read what the paper is saying and they agree with a lot of what the paper is saying because they're seeing it with their own eyes. Don't smoke what they say, don't blow smoke up my ass. Okay, I see what's going on. So when I'm seeing the media just get this guy bubblegum question and don't ask him nothing real, it's frustrating. They get pissed. Man, you didn't even ask him anything. They get upset. That's like if you watch The Breakfast Club, right? This dude just got in trouble for drop kicking a midget or something. And just the day before, and here he is on The Breakfast Club, and they don't ask him nothing about him drop kicking a midget. He'd be like, he just drop kicked a midget yesterday. You don't even bring that up? That thing viral. They got it from every angle. And you don't even ask him that? Okay. Now I've lost respect for the media. I've lost respect for this game because I know they're trying to protect him. Now it's not authentic. I can't trust this sports media. I can't trust what they're doing. Now, because of the internet and the guys who used to be the junkyard dogs in the media, they got to clam up because it's all changed. It's all gone to the internet now. And they can replace you now. You're not even as important to them anymore. You don't hold that weight that you used to down at the station with the major newspaper. It was like the newspaper is dead now. So you have no power like that. So now you guys are at the mercy of the league. They could easily replace you. And this is why I never went into NBA media and sports media because there it's all about who you know. Now, I don't want to be Chris Haynes. Chris Hayes was a guy who I saw coming up, and he was down in the Bay doing Golden State games, and he was making it like he wanted this, like he want to be part of the NBA. He wanted to be that. And I'm like, you're gonna end up betraying some trust in this game, and once you do that, betray that trust, that's when you're gonna know you're part of the media and you're no longer a friend of these guys. You're trying to have the best of both worlds. You're trying to be their friend and do your job at the same time. Now, can you turn your back? And how many times can you turn your back on one of the biggest stories that you ever had in your career? You want to be able to talk about the hooker you saw leaving at 3 a.m. You want to be able to say, man, that girl right there, she came through with like 3, 4 girls. They all slept with them, about 4 of them. And now they all dead tired and they playing like crap. The one girl had a flu, got the team sick. They were on the plane, got everybody sick on the plane, and the team had to play when everybody had flu-like symptoms. You got to sit on those stories. Oh, this guy thought he had HIV because the condom broke. And he was just like, oh my God, what if I don't know if she had her shots. I don't know if anything. Like she was a dog. It was crazy. All the team thought it was funny. And they just went on as business as usual. And his game fell off because he was mentally messed up about the condom breaking. Those stories never made it out to the world because had to protect the player, protect his reputation. Oh, it's a lot of stories like this. That's why we have the Patreon. That's like the safe ground. There's a lot of stuff that went on that a lot of people just don't know about. There was a raid. Well, not a raid, but police came and swooped in a house, right? They heard some disturbances, noise, and they said, okay, let's get these gangbangers up out of here. And while taking out gangbangers, here comes an NBA basketball player. It's all this weed, it's all this loud music playing, rap, drinking, and girls like half naked. Like they were just dressed that way. And he's like, what should have looked like four people in the house turned to like 30 people in the house. And when they're taking everybody out the house, here comes this big 6'10" guy who's got to duck down to get under the door. And it's like, wait a minute. Are you kidding me? The police officer is saying, this is such and such. We just honored this guy like 3 days ago. And here he is hanging out in this area that he shouldn't even be in. This guy's got a multi-million-dollar house. What is he doing here? And it's just, it was a weird situation because they like, we just honored this guy. And here he is, in this situation. It's not a crime. It's more of a noise complaint that just turned into weed and guns and everything else. And his agent came down and got him out of everything. They called the city, and the city said, was he doing any of this stuff? Did you find anything on him? Yeah, well, let him go. And then do whatever you're going to do. But let him go. Don't fingerprint him, nothing. So that never ruined that player's career and never got out but the players know, like people knew. It's stories like this all the time. Now, oh, you want me to give you a player? Tony Romo was found with marijuana, and he had marijuana in his bag. He had what you would call what these smokers call a bowl, and he would, it was marijuana residue in there and everything else. Jerry Jones made a phone call and got him out of it. He had DUI. He got pulled over for driving under the influence. Jerry Jones says, hey, you're my guy. Matter of fact, the police officer knew it was Tony Romo, called Jerry Jones and said, hey, just get my guy a car. I'm going to send a car to come pick him up and take him home. Just have somebody come and get his car and drive his car home. And then he'll tell Tony, hey, you can't keep doing this. Tony Romo was, as long as he was the starting quarterback for the Cowboys, he could do whatever he wanted. And he treated it as such. He didn't train the hardest. He didn't work out like he should have been. He was thinking he was a megastar. He's got a stylist now. He's hanging out with Jessica Simpson. They got to be a power couple. And his game fell off. And all the wild behavior and all that stuff, it had to come to a halt. He's a guy that ain't won anything. He's a backup quarterback who's being glorified. Oh no, man. It was some some wild NBA stories, man. Most of them are for players you've heard of, but they weren't superstars. They never played an NBA game. They were just role players, but they had millions of dollars. So these guys go out to the clubs and do things that's crazy and wild. And some of the media find out they got to shut up. Hell, Michael Jordan almost beat up the media when he was in Washington. Some of the beat writers for Washington, like Jordan, put his hands on one of them. That never made it out to the public. You know who know that? The teammates in Washington. Know who's gonna make things right? David Stern. Dak Prescott is what we always thought he was, and what he's always been. He's a backup quarterback, and the more people accept that, the better off they're gonna be when they know, hey, this is a backup quarterback. What are we doing? Okay, we're playing this notion that he's better than what he's appearing to be. No, he's a backup quarterback. That's what he is. Stop moving the needle when you don't have to move the needle. He's a backup quarterback. Stop treating this as if it's something that it isn't. We need everybody to be locked in. We need all of these people to engage and be into this situation, be into the moment. Like, this is it. Be locked in. So it's hard. I've seen players get into a fight because a player was very adamant about we can make the playoffs. They didn't even give a damn about making the playoffs. Because they're like, we just going to get knocked out in the first round. What does it matter? Why? I'd rather have this vacation I got planned with my wife already. They got a vacation planned. They're like 2 games out of the playoffs, right? This is before the plan. They're 2 games out of the 8th seed. They're in the 9th seed. And they're like, I don't care if we make the playoffs. Some of the players, they are not even committed to making the playoffs. And the player that's on the team couldn't believe it. He's so livid. Like, man, I'm out here killing myself. And then they're like, man, you young. Man, wait till you get 6, 7 years in this league, man. You just want to do your job and go home. You got that young in you. You want to fight for a title, and like we can make a run. Like, man, look, we're gonna play in the first round, get that playoff money. We're good. I'm just going. They got millions of dollars. They just want to get their money, and that's it. They get that money, it's up. I'm pretty sure Kwame knew about MJ laying hands on her reporter. You probably do. Next time we talk to KB, Most people don't even see that. So the sports media fans, these guys and this one I knew the game was like terrible with media. This is like one of the head honchos for boxing at the time. His name was Dan Raphael. You know, you see him on TV. Dan Raphael is reporting on boxing. Once boxing got off of really, they basically let Dan Raphael go because you're paying him for nothing now. But you were always paying him for nothing. Dan Raphael is about 400 pounds. You never seen him inside of a boxing gym. You had your best chance of seeing him inside of Dunkin' Donuts. Now, Dan Raphael has banned me on Twitter because I had a picture of him as the, Macy's Parade Day float. I didn't make that picture. Somebody else did, and I just shared it, and he didn't like it. So Dan blocked me on Twitter and everything. But not my fault. You're 400 pounds, dude. Somebody else. Now, that's an insult. Yes, he was an insult to the game of boxing and to the game of sports media. What he did was sell perceptions and personas, and whoever was the one greasing their pockets, they were following an agenda. And you all knew because they all was retweeting and reposting the same thing, trying to get some fire. Yeah, that's the NBA people calling up because they don't know what Giannis said. They don't know what the video is about. They just see the title, and now the NBA people are, doing what they do. I'm used to it by now. There's no technical difficulties. The only technical difficulty is the league. They have their guys that work for YouTube, so they try to police everything. We've been seeing this for what? The last 6-7 years. So we get it. Well, a lot of people barely watch the league anymore because of these factoids. But Dan Raphael would never go to a gym, never get any reports. So it's like, well, who talked to Dan Raphael? What he would do is call around and ask people what happened. What happened when he was in there? Were you in there? I'm like, yeah, I was. But what happened? What did he look like? What is this? So he doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about. He'll get on TV and start regurgitating things, but Dan wasn't there to see it. Dan don't know what's going on. And here he is on ESPN. And people be like, oh man, that's Dan Raphael. He's the boxing guy. And I'm like, Dan never was in there when they was sparring. He don't know if the guy got buckled. He just heard a rumor from somebody in the gym. Or some promoter told him because they want him to pass along their agenda on the platform. Same thing Stephen A. Smith does. Passes along an agenda on the platform. It hurts people's hearts when they feel betrayed. When you feel like you've given all your all to something and someone comes in and just lets you down. That's what it feels like, being betrayed. Now, what you want to do is to saying, okay, now I've seen guys tell the media too much. Like some guys are friends with some of these media guys, and some of the athletes mistake that as friendship. And they share too much to these guys. And those guys will go and stab them in the back. and go, hey, man, why did you say that? Why would you say that to them? Like, you know what's going to happen if they do that. He was like, oh, I thought you wanted me to tell him, like, you didn't care. He's like, dude, we came to an agreement. Like, you asked me, I'll let you know if it's true or false, and then you can go from there. Yeah, so these narratives never change, bro. So everything Giannis said, I'm all for it because he's 100% right. And the NBA should fix their media problem. You need more realistic
Like today.
media.
Vegas, baby, the Bucks are rolling. They're going to Vegas. Blackjack. Hey, you beat the team. Like today. Vegas, baby, the Bucks are rolling. They're going to Vegas. Blackjack. Wow. Wow. And the day you lose, they suck. Get him out of here. Trade Giannis, and he has blood in his hands, and nobody wants him, and he can shoot and lick and blah blah blah. Bad teammate, 0 IQ. Oh my, guys, yesterday I was the best player in the world. Hey, you beat the team. Like today. Vegas, baby, the Bucks are rolling. They're going to Vegas. Blackjack. Wow. Wow. And the day you lose, they suck. Get him out of here. Trade Giannis, and he has blood in his hands, and nobody wants him, and he can shoot and lick and blah blah blah. Bad teammate, 0 IQ. Oh my, guys, yesterday I was the best player in the world. Hey, you beat the team. Like today. Vegas, baby, the Bucks are rolling. They're going to Vegas. Blackjack. Wow. Wow. And the day you lose, they suck. Get him out of here. Trade Giannis, and he has blood in his hands, and nobody wants him, and he can shoot and lick and blah blah blah. Bad teammate, 0 IQ. Oh my, guys, yesterday I was the best player in the world.